This may easily become one of the most beautiful games you have ever seen, and the opening behind possibly part of your repertoire. Now, players' names and other details are in the description, while on the board we have King's Indian attack. White is preparing e4, creating this pawn chain that is announcing attack on the king side. Now we had b6, and I need to explain it, because black could have castled, and they decided to delay it. It is not just a move, like it seems at first. The idea comes from knowing what white is building on the king side. I need to show you how the main line looks, and you'll get the picture why b6 and not short castle. Now, typically black castles, and then we get rook e1. Now, since black already has better game and space advantage on the queen side, they'd like to grab more space, and there is no point in going to b6, but to b5. Now white continues with e5, kicking the f6 knight out of its ideal spot, and then the point of the last two moves, the move knight f1. And that knight is going on a journey that eventually ends on g4, close to the black king. And white's plan is to get as many pieces as possible to the king side. Now one bishop may end up on f4, the other one may be on h3. Typically, black would hope to survive long enough on the king side while breaking through on the other side of the board. So now, what may be the point of b6? Black is advancing slower than typically, and there is no point at first. Take a couple of seconds to think, or maybe even pause. Maybe you'd come up with an idea. Well, since white becomes so aggressive on the king side and black knows that, they're going to castle long side. Really a folksy plan. And I needed to include it in my repertoire after seeing it for the first time. White continues to build the same setup, hoping that black is only delaying castling short. And then what a disappointment, realizing that black's king is fleeing to the other side. Then the move that I like a lot, a3, immediately showing their willingness to sacrifice a pawn with b4 in order to open files against black king. I think every book on how to attack is consisted of hundreds of examples of this kind. Of course, white doesn't need to rush, and we can see here first a prophylactic h5 to prevent black from advancing g5. Now b4 would be a very good idea, as after bishop ends up on b4 or knight on b4, white is nicely preparing to open black like a can with c4 next. The engine says white has more than compensation. However, a GM leading white opted for c4 first. Point being, in case of d4, a nice square in the center becomes open for one of the white's knights, while black knights are still unable to get to the center. And now b4. I like this because when there is c4 already, b4 looks like the pawn sacrifice similar to the one we see in the Benko gambit. Now taking the pawn doesn't work well for black, because white can even trade these pieces, similarly what we do as black in the Benko, leaving black with a lot of problems. Now according to the engine, white is clearly better here, because we practically have a much better version of the Benko. Black king being completely misplaced on the queen side. Black made a good decision not touching that pawn. And then a strange continuation by white, taking on c5 when black can simply recapture with the knight and keep the b file closed. Instead, the strongest idea for white is knight e4, preparing to capture on c5, The pawn on e5 is completely relevant, taking in account how quick the attack of white becomes on the b file. Then the worst move in the whole game. B takes c5. Almost anything else would have been better. Even leaving that pawn on c5 is better. And we had h take g6, rook take g6, and rook b1. The most important piece in black camp is their light square bishop, and I think the best has been to hide it on a8 at this point. But black doesn't see that the danger is near. And this was the move that black overlooked. The e5 pawn is immune due to the similar trouble of black thanks to the rook takes b7 tactic. Black continues to ignore the threats, inviting or maybe allowing a beautiful move bishop g5, which weakens black's dark squares and, more importantly, the d6 square for the e4 knight to use. Therefore, black keeps the bishop, of course, but loses the h4 pawn. Now the knight on h4 was not doing much, and after rook h7, the best part of the game starts, and the move is knight e6 check. Then bishop takes, pawn takes, and the queen of black ends up on d6. Then bishop f4. Point being that e5 doesn't really work for black, because white just takes it. And the final position is evaluated by Stockfish as +9 because of the weak black king. Because of that, black opted for queen e7. And now you can pause the video and try to find the start of a long but beautiful combination. Or if it turns out too difficult, wait for 2 more moves to be played out and you'll think again. In any case, a thematic exchange sacrifice is here. And of course, it's rook takes b7, removing the key defender and defender of the light squares. Now, in a position like this, you don't even need to have a forced win. Just looking at the long h1 a8 diagonal, seeing the enemy king sitting on that part of the board, it's already compensating what is sacrificed. Now, among many options, queen e4 is very tricky. It is lining up with the bishop on the g2 a8 diagonal. On the other end, it's attacking the h7 rook, and the expected reaction is f5. Then, according to the engine, it's mate in 9 moves. And what is surprising is that white, without being told that there is mate in 9, found it. Can you find mate in 9? Pause, think, and then continue. First move is quite expected. Queen sacrifices herself on c6. Now, of course, king takes, and then the most precise move is knight takes d4. The only move is king b6. And then we involve the last piece into the attack. Black doesn't want to go up, but goes to a6 first. But we push it forward by playing bishop b7 check. The only move is king a5, and now bishop d2 to force it to a4. Their only move again. And then bishop c6. And the king is forced to go all the way to a3. Then we force it to a2. Then we check with the rook b2. And wherever the black king goes, to a3 or a1, we play the same move, knight c2, mate. I think that's really one of the most beautiful king walks and beautiful attacks in chess history. If you like the attack and you want to explore this option for yourself, maybe playing at certain point as white, check some other videos related with the King's Indian attack. And one of those videos is on this channel. Also, if you'd want to support it, share the link and write your thoughts in the comment section.